Well, we're here at All Things Open. I'm Jason, your host today. We're here with Lauren. Lauren, please introduce yourself to the All Things Open community.
Sure. My name's Lauren Maffeo. I have been working and volunteering in open source for the last 6 years, mostly in the Drupal community, but I've also been increasingly doing a lot of stuff in open source data communities. And I'm really excited to be here with you, Jason, because I feel like you're the reason I'm actually here at All Things Open. This is my 5th ATO, and I remember when you and I met at OSS Vancouver, the Open Source Summit in Vancouver in 2018, and that was really at the start of my open source journey. I went there thinking that I would get some more speaking experience at events and had no idea at the time that I was going to get sucked into the open source vortex, but I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, well, I have that magic sometimes, so thanks for sharing that. I want to dive into your expertise around data governance. For someone not familiar with it, what is data governance?
I always describe data governance as the combination of the people, processes, and tools that you need to manage your big data at scale and really get value from it. It's a phrase that has a branding problem, I think, because people hear it, they automatically think it's related to compliance. It very often means in their eyes that they won't be able to do those fun experimental things with data, like machine learning, and that it really is a stopgap to innovation, when the actuality is that, from what I see, the lack of data governance and management in the space has really kept the field from growing. If you look at the growth of open source code, for instance, it's leaps and bounds ahead of open data. And data presents a lot of unique challenges that code does not. And I really feel confident that the combination of the right people, processes, and tools can help data reach its full potential, which it really hasn't been able to do yet.
Got it. Yeah, you're right. It does have kind of a negative kind of compliance feel to it. I guess the word governance just has this heaviness to it. So what's exciting about data governance then? Let's tap into that.
It's exciting because I really feel that it's like the bones of a house. And so in order to build this beautiful house, you really need to have strong bones underneath. Otherwise, the foundation's going to collapse. And data governance done well is invisible. I think that's also why it's a hard sell, because it's not something very tangible that you can see and feel. But when it's done well, when you have the right architecture pattern set up, you have the right data domain set up to keep your data organized, you have the right group of stewards and the right community managing the data, that's actually what allows you to do the really fun stuff with data, like experimenting with new models, accelerating AI growth. AI at the end of the day is just data. And so I think the more that you understand that data and really commit to creating high quality data, that allows you the freedom to start experimenting and doing more fun stuff with that data that really touches people in a more tangible way.
Got it. That sounds great. Well, you wrote a book on data governance, and you told us a little bit about it already. So tell us just about the book. And you said, when it's done right, it's invisible. So I think that's kind of what we're going into here. So tell us about your book.
Yeah, I feel like data governance is like the sysadmin of data, where it's about when it doesn't work, and when it works, you don't know. And so sometimes it's difficult to see. But I really wanted to write this book with the pragmatic programmers because I had spent several years at that point working with chief data officers and doing systems design work for them to help them get the most out of the data they were producing. And I saw all of these really consistent challenges that people had, even at these very senior levels of leadership, with tagging their data correctly, making sure that it had the right context behind it, making sure that it was in the same system, which very often it is not. You're often trying to get data out of legacy systems and into newer cloud environments. And so I really wanted to write a very quick 100-page 6-step guide to help people who are in these senior roles managing data strategies. They know that they need more help around data management and governance, but they don't know where to start. So that's really where the idea for the book came from. And it was actually born out of a conversation I had at ATO back in 2019. That was the very first time that I started actually thinking about a book, not even this particular book, but really experimenting with the idea. I met a prog editor at ATO in 2019, and it grew from there.
That sounds awesome. ATO making things happen. All right. Well, do you have any tips or best practices to share with the All Things Open community?
Hey, this is Todd with All Things Open. Thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button. We've got a lot of new content coming we think you're going to be interested in. One final favor, be sure to go to allthingsopen.org to see everything that we do. Back to the video.
Yes, I think the biggest thing is considering what you want to use data for and what you're going to bring to people in terms of consumable, reusable value. And that really comes, I think, in the form of data products, which data products can be used in a range of different ways. My talk at ATO this year is about how to add Kafka streaming to your data products. So it's talking about event-driven architecture and use cases for that, as well as how you can incorporate Kafka into your data products and into your data environments, how you can actually design your whole data architecture around it. So I would encourage people to think holistically about data. So thinking about, again, the bones of your house and what your architecture looks like, how you might be able to adapt it, but then also to think about how you can practice open source principles when you're managing your data. I would argue that there is no group of technologists more well suited to data governance than open source, because they know how to rally people into communities to do this shared work that people believe in. And so I would say to look at the big picture, start at how you can bring tangible value from the data that you have, turn it into products, and use the right open source tools like Kafka streaming to make it work.
Excellent. Well, we know that people are going to be getting a lot of knowledge here at All Things Open. Do you have any tips on what people can do after the conference and how they can apply what they've learned?
I think the best thing you can do here is to really meet a small but key group of people here. Try to make it a goal of 3 and stay in touch with them after ATO, because the content here really is unparalleled, and I would argue that between the price of ATO and the content, you're not going to get a better value anywhere. So the content is fantastic, but as you know, what really makes it are the people, and that's what we were really lacking during COVID, and the height of COVID was that opportunity to gather in person. So I would argue that after the conference, the best thing you can do is follow up with 3 people who you made a great connection with, and then you can take it from there. By the way, I also met one of my book sponsors at ATO last year, so this can be a really fantastic conference for your career if you meet the right people and then do the right follow-ups.
Sounds great. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Jason.
All right.